In this video, we're going to talk about identity resolution. Specifically, we're going to talk about exactly what identity resolution is and why it matters for your business. Identity resolution allows you to deterministically identify individuals across online platforms, across devices, and to even identify individuals offline in a privacy-protected way. Now, that's what identity resolution is. But why is it important? And why should you care? It's actually pretty simple, and there are a few reasons why, but here's a really big one. Identity resolution can help your business increase profits. In other words, it helps you make more money. We're going to show you exactly how in just a second, but first let's explain how it works, so you can see the big picture. Identity resolution is important because it allows you to market to your best prospects in the only way that makes sense, which is in a cross-device, platform-agnostic, people-based way. Identity resolution makes it possible to treat any prospect as a person, as an individual, whether they're using their laptop, desktop, tablet, or phone. And whether they're on a platform like Facebook, searching for information on Google, reading the news on their local newspaper's website, or watching a YouTube video. So you'll know who they are and can treat them the way they want to be treated. Not as a number, not as an anonymous visitor to your website or someone who happens to fit a demographic profile, but as a person. A demographic of one. So it's just common sense, but it's also backed up by cold, hard facts and numbers. Remember how we said it helps you make more money? Here's how, because here's the reality of the marketing landscape today. 90% of your prospects expect consistent interactions across channels. 98% switch between multiple devices throughout the day. And prospects who interact with a business using multiple channels are typically worth 30% more to you than those who use only one channel. And the only way to engage those prospects effectively across those multiple channels and those multiple devices and multiple email addresses is by knowing who they are, no matter where they are or what they're using, by deterministically resolving their identity through identity resolution. Otherwise, those prospects are unrecognizable to you. But not only that. Identity resolution is also the only way that we can make sense of all of the massive amounts of behavioral data we generate, plus what we know about someone's demographic and psychographic profile. It's the only way that we can know, not guess, that someone, let's call him Bob, is actively pursuing a purchase of what you sell. And it's also the only way that you can reach Bob in the way that Bob likes, and that makes sense to Bob. More on that in a second. But consider this first. It's estimated that an average person generates almost a gigabyte worth of data every single day. Data on what they're searching for, reading, watching, sharing, posting, texting, buying, and preparing to buy. But you know what? Big deal. Because that data, in and of itself, means virtually nothing. It's just data. How we turn it into insight is when we can attach it to a person, when we can attach it to Bob. All the data in the world is meaningless to you without that last part, because knowing that someone is in the market for what you sell means nothing, but knowing that Bob is in the market for what you sell means everything. That's data versus insight. See the difference? So how do we do that? How do we resolve Bob's identity and turn all that data Bob produces into insight we can use? Here's the process. In order to resolve his identity, we first need to make sure Bob is a real person and not a robot. And there's one thing we know about bots. They don't buy things. So when Bob signs up for a site on which he has to pay, we know he's real. Once he logs in to access the content he paid for, we can place a cookie on Bob's browser that syncs up with Bob's email address that he used to log into the site, and that's matched up with all of the other information we know about Bob in our identity graph, things like the other email addresses he uses or the IDs of his various devices. Our identity graph contains the deterministically resolved identity of Bob and more than 200 million other U.S. consumers just like him. On average, we can resolve the identity of 50% of visitors to any website, which we can then match up with 2.6 emails and 2.5 device IDs on average per person. But there's more to the story, because at this point we've done a few very important things. We've resolved Bob's identity, so we know it's Bob. We know his various email addresses and who he is on different platforms. We know the IDs of his various devices, and we're able to track Bob's behavior so we know what he's looking for. But we also know a lot about his demographic and psychographic profile as well. We know who he is offline, his physical address, Bob at 123 Main Street. We know things like his age and occupation, income level, home value, ethnicity, and marital status. We know if he owns a pet, has an RV, drives a truck, a motorcycle, has a swimming pool, or a home business. We know if he votes, his party affiliation, and if he contributes to liberal or conservative causes or candidates. We know which credit cards he has, how many times he uses them, which stores he buys from, if he uses a gas card or a platinum card. And we can track Bob throughout his buyer's journey, from the moment he dips a toe into the market, through his research phase when he's considering options, right up through a purchase. All that is great, and it's remarkably powerful. But there's still one piece of the puzzle that you need, because we need a way to put all that insight to use. You need a way to own it. The way we do that is through the use of a cryptographic hash, which is a privacy-protected small file that identifies Bob and all those things we know about him. And because that hash file is something permanent and something we own and control forever, it's not something that can be taken away, or that disappears when someone clears their cookies, or that an ad platform can hold hostage. In fact, it's just the opposite. Because not only can this hash file be used to target Bob on any platform and on any device for as long as we want, we can even use it to find Bob offline, to send him direct mail, to pick up the phone and call him, or, coming very soon, to reach him via one-to-one radio and TV ads. That kind of power only comes from a technology like identity resolution. It's the difference between data and insight. It's the difference between wasting money by marketing to the masses and directing your ad spend where it matters most, on the people most likely to buy, marketing to a demographic of one. It's the difference between being held captive by powerful ad platforms who control who you can target, when, for how long, and for how much, and you being in control of all of those variables, the very things that determine how successful your marketing campaigns can be. That's why identity resolution matters. It turns data into insight. It makes what was temporary and out of your control and an asset for someone else into an asset for you, one that is permanent and that is owned and controlled by you forever. And it's the only way to have a consistent and coherent conversation with the prospects who matter most. The prospects most likely to lead to profits today.